afternoon, coolest coast. It is time for Coffee on the Coast. Good afternoon and welcome to this episode of Coffee on the Coast. Just coffee and coolness is what you're getting this afternoon with my
That's
guest, Tim Gadzinski of Manitowoc Public Library, and I'm your host, Tina
Good
Prigge.
afternoon.
TIM, welcome back to Coffee on the Coast.
Well, you're welcome, TINA, PRIGGE.
Hey, you can spell, and that is a good thing because that means you're ready for the Brew N Bee.
Hooray! It's true. I am ready.
Hooray!
But fortunately, I don't have to spell at the Brew N Bee. I have. If I did, I'd be completely cheating. I'm actually the pronouncer and one of the judges.
So, pronouncer, is that an official role?
It is. I was surprised to find out that it was an official role. I'm kind of for this adult spelling bee. I'm merging a couple roles. Usually, the pronouncer isn't also a judge, but just to try and not get an overabundance of people involved,
Yeah.
we're keeping with a group of four, and that's really all we need.
Let's give people the details of what we talk about before we get too far into it. We're talking about the upcoming Brew N Bee, which is the Brew N Bee III, spell harder. Now, this is a really unique and cool collaboration between Manitowoc Public Library and Petskull Brewing. It's happening on Wednesday, July 19th. Okay, what
2 weeks from today.
What does this mean? What's a Brew N Bee?
Okay, a Brew N Bee really someone that I work with, Margot Meyer, who heads up our one-to-one adult literacy program, and she's also kind of involved with other programming. She came to me when I first started working here because when I came, I just started throwing everything against the wall and see what stuck, and just trying to do different fun things. She's like, this might be of interest to you. And it was about an adult spelling bee that was associated with, I believe, the University of Portland. And they do it, and it's huge. I mean, they sell tickets to come and watch it. They make a ton of money off the spelling bee. And what it is you team with a microbrewery, and you can have adult beverages if you choose to. You don't have to. It's certainly not mandatory. It's not like a giant drinking game where you spell wrong and you have to chug.
It's not drink harder, it's spell harder.
It's spell harder, right. It's right there in the title. But, when Petskull opened up, I guess this was like 7 years ago now, close to 7 years ago. I went there, and what I loved about the place, especially in their old place, they had a TV, but it was never on. They didn't have a jukebox. They didn't have any video games or gambling games. It was all about conversation. And sometimes I can, I'll go into a new space and I'll kind of like read the room for several weeks before I kind of insert myself like a virus into everything. But I love that. I was talking to people that I didn't know that weren't necessarily from around here. It turned out Paul, my mom was Paul's second grade teacher.
Oh, cool.
And I sang at his first communion. Oddly enough, these are all the weird things, but that's what I love about it. Petskull, even now, even though they've moved into a larger space, now it includes music, and frequently original music into the mix. But it's all about conversation, camaraderie, and shenanigans. And the beer is there too, but it's not what it's all about. It really is about the connections and conversations you make with people that you didn't know you were going to run into. So I saw this and I'm like, this is perfect for the spelling bee that we want to do. So Emily, myself, and Paul tossed names around, came up with the Brew N Bee. Every year has, a different subtitle. We had to take a 5-year pause though. This is the first one in 5 years because of, the pandemic. And then when things started to get rolling, it just was kind of like too much to throw into the mix right away. But this year's great. We have a great array of words. Our panelist judges are great. The venue is great. We're going to be outside in the beer garden from 6 to 8 p.m. is when it runs. And the contestants will be up on stage. And, it's like the Scripps Spelling Bee, except a lot. It's intelligent stupidity. That is how I would sublabel the event. And I recommend highly, always ask for your word in a sentence. Always.
Always. Can you give us an example of a word?
No. I'm not giving anything away.
Sorry, I tried.
You know the rules.
Well, you know what's funny, Tim, is so we were talking about the Brew N Bee on our WOMTC Haverford
Yeah.
News radio show. And Paul Hoffman from Petskull Brewing also joined us for that conversation. And one of the words you said was Kreuzen, like,
Mhm.
the Kreuzen beer. I didn't know how to spell it. You didn't know how to spell it, but the beer maker knew. Paul just rattled it right off.
Of course, and probably because I wouldn't be surprised if back in the day he drank a lot of old style. Because it said it on every bottle.
Right.
And can. It said fully Kreuzen. And I love that. I'm sure it's tied in somehow to the Reinheitsgebot, the beer purity, the German beer purity law, I think of 1752, which dictates, I know it sounds like I'm making it up, but I'm not. Beer can only have three things: water, uh, malt, hops, and a grain.
That's four things.
What did I say? Three?
Yeah.
Thank God it's not a counting bee. I never think of water as an ingredient when you talk about a beverage, because, I mean, it's kind of inherent, or it would be oatmeal. Very different things. So hard to drink an oatmeal. Very, very hard.
So very good tip from Tim Gadzinski here is that if you're participating in the Brew N Bee, and you have to be 21 and older, 21
Correct.
or older to participate, always ask for the word that you're given in a sentence. That makes really good sense. And Tim, you said you're the pronouncer. That's a really important role, right? Because if you say the word, I don't know, a certain way or like a skewed way, it could really affect the way somebody thinks it's spelled.
Oh, yeah, you have to be as standard English pronunciation as possible. And you also have to be ready to give an alternate pronunciation if asked for. Because one of the words, I can't say it because it's not one of our harder words, but it does have actually three different pronunciations. So you can ask for the pronunciation, and sometimes when you ask for the pronunciation, there isn't one. Or the alternative pronunciation doesn't provide any sort of clues, but sometimes it does. So,
So sorry, I was going to say, so we're talking Brew N Bee. That doesn't mean every word is beer related necessarily, right?
Correct. Yeah, it just means that there's beer in the mix and it's being held at a microbrewery. So to kind of not mention it seems a little silly, but the competition will also be brewing. It's not just something that has been made in the beer vats, but no, they're not all about, it is definitely not all about beer. In the first one, there were a lot more beer words because, that was our first time out. We decided thematically, there's always loose themes. And in the first one, it was beer and metal because of Paul being into metal. But you can go a lot of different ways with metal. So like this year, for example, our loose themes, but just remember, not all of the words are along these themes also, are insects because of
challenging.
The bee, because it's a bee.
Oh, right.
And since we called it Spell Harder, Die Hard, based movies that you can extrapolate from Die Hard.
And other Christmas movies?
I'm not allowed to say, but I can neither confirm nor deny that, but you may be onto something.
So who got to choose the words? Was it a collaborative effort?
Yeah, it was four people. It was myself, Emily Brandt, who is my cohort in marketing here, Laura Schreiner, who is in charge of, well, amongst other things, interlibrary loans, and a former employee of Manitowoc Public Library who still just likes to do it because it's a fun event. And why am I blanking on his name?
Is it Jordan? It's
Jordan. Jordan Cabot. Or Cabot, Jordan Cabot. But the real name is, the real pronunciation is Cabot, but say Cabot because it makes him just a little angry.
So would that count as the alternate pronunciation?
Well, if you ask him, no. There is one pronunciation. And Jordan is the judgiest judge.
Oh.
Now, hold on just one second. I'm turning away. Now, one thing to remember is, we run it like according to the script spelling bee. So if you hear this after you spell your word, did you hear that?
I did.
That means you've got it wrong. A ding does not mean it's correct. So, and then Jordan has whipped. Okay, there's another thing that I should bring up that's a bit. Um, can we talk the price structure just so that I can so that I mention it? It's $20 per person to enter, but for your $20, you get two beverages, whether that be Petskull's microbrews, their hop water, which is non-alcoholic, which is kind of like I would say a hop seltzer.
Hmm.
Um, their soda. There's also other things. There's a bunch of other things, but you get two beverages. You get a certificate that is good for either framing or using as a placemat for your beverages the night of the Brew N Bee, and a shot at glory, which is very, very important. And for the top three finishers, fabulous prizes, including a magnificent trophy that's being donated by Manitowoc Trophy for the champion.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And the first place winner, one of their prizes also is a keg party at Petskull for you and your friends.
What?
So
Oh, that's fun.
yeah, yep. And for
I
the
mean, if
first,
that doesn't make somebody want to spell harder, I don't think anything should.
well, you know what can induce you to spell harder with that carrot being dangled in front of you? I mean, it's got to make you want to spell harder. But and also the first person eliminated gets a sad prize,
Oh.
but I can't say what it is. But it's sad.
Okay, so it's $20 to enter. What does that money go towards? Obviously, some of the beverages.
Well, the money goes towards the beverages, as you said, and then it just covers our costs. What we're really shooting for is a self-sustaining event, but we do wind up making a little bit of money, not enough to actually call it a fundraiser. As I mentioned on your radio show, it's more of a fundraiser. And but the money goes to Friends of Manitowoc Public Library, who do a lot of fantastic things to help support our program. Hooray! So no, the Friends are great, and we like to kick back as much as we can. And one of the larger ways that we generate a little more money with the Brew N Bee is as opposed to the script spelling bee where you spell something wrong and you're out, you can buy cheats before it starts, which is ask a friend, trade a word, 5 seconds with your phone. That used to be 10 seconds with your phone, but phones are much faster than they used to be. So we scaled that back. Rewind a word, which means that like if you get halfway through the word and you realize or you think you misspelled it and you have one of these cheats, you can start over from the beginning again. Otherwise, if you catch yourself in the middle of a word and you start over, you have to adhere to exactly what you've been saying, even if it's wrong.
What?
Yeah, you can't change. Like, let's say your word was tough. Okay, I don't think that's in there at all. But you start off. You ask for what part of language it is, language of origin, any alternate pronunciations. Use it in a sentence. You go through that, and you start off, and you're like TOG. And you realize you're wrong. If you don't have rewind a word, you still have to spell it TOG.
What?
Yep.
Is that true in scripts too?
Yep.
Like what? Wow.
Yeah. So it's a single elimination unless you have cheats spelling bee. Just like scripts. You can't change it. Once you get rolling,
so
you have to stick with what you're doing.
To think it through before you speak.
Yep.
And I noticed, okay, so the fine print in the buy a cheat is they're only available before the competition begins. So you have to be kind of strategic about it. And there's only one type of cheat per contestant.
Well,
so you can buy one of each, but only one of each.
Correct. And they are only good in the first two rounds, in the easy and the medium round. You cannot use a cheat to advance to the championship level.
When would a person use a mulligan?
A mulligan is when I would say there are many times that you could use it, but a mulligan would be you get through the word, you tried using your, start over. You've tried asking a friend. You've tried any of the other cheats, but you get through to the end of the word and you still get you present your card with a mulligan. You present your mulligan card.
And then you're safe.
Yep, and you just go sit down and you move on to the next word. Each round has 2 words. The easy round has 2 words per person, medium, 2 words per person, and then ideally you get to the hard round and it's 2 words per person. But people tend to drop out pretty quick at that point. In fact, the last 2 times we have not made it past the difficult round.
Oh, how many rounds could there be?
There can be a total of 5: easy, medium, hard, championship, and elimination. The elimination round, if there are 2 or more people still that get through the championship words, at that point it gets really interesting because you have to trade off letters and spell the word. You will all have the same word, and you have to change letters. If somebody says the wrong letter, the bell rings, and the person who had the last correct letter has the opportunity to spell the entire word. And if they do, they win.
Whoa. Whoa. Okay. Interesting. So let me
It's
ask you
fun.
this.
It's a lot of fun.
You've seen the words. Now, don't tell me any of the words, but knowing like the championship level words, the elimination level words, when you saw some of those, were you like, that would be tough to spell? Like, were there some that you thought would be a challenge?
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, we put it together so that the tough words are hard. I mean, they are difficult. They're fun, but they're hard. And yeah, I mean, they're designed, when you're in 8th grade, you only know so many words. When you're an adult, you know more words, but we use words that you may never have heard of before. And but that's part of the fun of it. I think that's part of the fun of it. And oh yeah, no, it's designed intentionally to be difficult. And I will say this, as much as I enjoy the occasional Petskull beverage, I can tell you one thing for sure. I do not even have a sip of anything but water throughout the entire competition because the words get harder and harder to pronounce as well. And if I'm not on top of my game, then I'm gonna, mess somebody up. So I take it completely seriously and completely not seriously at the same time.
Let me ask you this. Can you spell Schnitski?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
For sure. Schnittzkey. Schnittzkey.
There's an E in it?
I think so. I could be wrong.
Huh.
Shall I look it up?
Let's look it up. I'll give you 5 seconds with your phone.
Oh my God. I didn't know I was competing. I can't even spell Schnittzkey that fast. Schnittzk. I'm just going to throw Y in there. I misspelled it. I would have been out. There is no Y. Schnittzky. See, Petskull Brewing Company. It's right there in reverse.
Words are tricky.
Words are hard, but it's just something that it's fun. It's different. Adults don't get to play nearly as much as kids, and that's a shame. It's a good thing in the middle of the week. How often does an opportunity like this come along?
Yeah, it sounds like a blast. Are people welcome to spectate if they're not?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Oh, we draw a pretty decent crowd. Like the first time we crammed into the old Petskull, and that was a very humid event. Let's put it. It was so hot in there. And then the next year we took it out to their little beer garden. But the first year we had like close to 95, 100 people that were watching, and like through the windows and indoors, and a little bit more than that when we took it outside. So yeah, it's the more people that show up to spectate, the more fun it is because people like with any competition, they get a little rowdy, they get a little loud, they pick a person that they're rooting for. Some people bring fans with them. It's
And so how does it work? Do they have to like step up to a microphone?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they'll be wearing placards with their numbers on it, just like the spelling bee. And there'll be 25 chairs for the contestants. There are still some spots open. So if we can flash that later, but there are 25 spots. Yeah, just head to manitowoclibrary.org/event/brew-n-b3, or just head to manitowoclibrary.org, and it's right there, the banner for it on our homepage. So it's very easy to find, but that is the address if you want to take a picture of it or write it down. But Yeah, it's going to be 25 chairs up on stage. People get their numbers assigned by how they sign up for the bee. And so it's 1 through 25, and then you come up 1 through 25. And if you're wrong, you must leave the stage. And if you're right, you get to stay.
I'm having flashbacks to 7th grade. Like my stomach is all aflutter right now, filled with butterflies, thinking about how nervous I would be, like spelling a word, you know.
Well, but I think that's cool that it still kind of has that effect, on you. And
Yeah.
I know there are some people that are really competitive. I mean, really, really competitive. And I would put cash money on it that they were competitive back in 7th grade.
So fun. Well, and you mentioned the hop water that Petskull has. I've had it
Yeah.
before too. I absolutely love it. It's a great non-alcoholic alternative, and it still
Mhm.
makes you feel like you're, in the groove with everyone else.
Yeah,
And
you're still part of the
super
party.
refreshing. Yeah.
Yeah, but it is very refreshing. I drink it at work sometimes, which is always, I get a couple sideways glances, but I'm like, no, that's all good. I drink a lot of seltzer at work, though.
Nice.
So, I mean, that's not totally surprising, but just having a Petskull can sitting right here next to me.
Do you have one with you right now?
I
Can you flash
don't.
it? Oh,
I don't. I have a picture of it on my phone, but
nice.
next to in the picture, it's next to the swine say.
Hydration is super important.
It is. It is.
Hey, the cheats that you mentioned, people have to buy them in advance of the
Yes.
start. Does that mean when they show up or when they register?
When they show up, they're available the night of the bee at Petskull in the beer garden outside. We'll have a table set up. You can buy the cheats then. The bee starts at 6. You can start buying cheats and finish up registering at 5:00. And you
So
get
oh, go ahead.
you get a registration packet which has all the rules, that you can follow, that you can read. But we go over the broad strokes, but just in case you have any like very specific questions, that's included for you along with your placard, your 2 drink tokens, your certificate.
So I'm wondering, have any previous participants used tactics or strategies like buying around for the other contestants once or twice, or you know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. That is not a bad strategy. I'll tell you, some people tend to have beers during, the competition. Others, none at all. So, it runs the spectrum. It wouldn't surprise me knowing some of the people in the past may have bought rounds for the other contestants, but probably included themselves in that round as well. So I don't know if it was a good strategy, but it's a lot of fun. And it's a great reason to get together and just do something that isn't, same old cookie cutter thing on a Wednesday night in the middle of July.
So for the spectators, is it like being on a green at Augusta for the Masters where it's like absolute silence while it's happening?
It is. You mean like when there is silence when they're spelling the words?
Okay.
But
Yep.
Otherwise, it's a bit of a free for all.
Okay. Yeah.
It gets pretty boisterous, and that's the fun part of. That's the fun of it.
Yeah. Oh, so cool, Tim. All right. So one last time, viewers, we are talking about the Brew N Bee III, Spell Harder. This is a collaboration between Manitowoc Public Library and Petskull Brewing to have some fun, to spell some words, and also to raise a little bit of funds for the Friends of the Manitowoc Public Library. It is happening Wednesday, July 19th at Petskull Brewing. Must be 21 or older to participate. It's $20 a person. Registration is currently open, and it sounds like a blast.
It really is. And you can smell the words too if you want.
What?
I heard you said smell instead of spell. Go back and watch the tape.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with it. I think spelling works better. Stay tuned. Coming back up. I do think that spelling works better if you use all 5 senses. That's just my opinion. And, before we go, I just want to remind everyone that you can't spell bee without spelling. Think about it.
Wow, that's deep.
It's almost a Roadhouse kind of koan.
Yeah.
It's a Swayze-esque sort of saying.
That's too awesome. Tim, it is always an absolute delight to have you here on Coffee on the Coast.
I love being here. Thank you so much.
Cool. I hope we see you again soon. You've been watching
I can
Coffee on the
guarantee
Coast. My guest today is Tim Gadzinski of Manitowoc Public Library, inviting you to come and participate or spectate the Brew N Bee III Spell Harder at Petskull Brewing on July 19th. I'm
2
your
weeks from
host,
today.
Tina Prigge. We'll see you next time on Coffee on the Coast. Bye, everyone.
Bye.